welcome to this week's video. Today I'm using this picture of my son from Snapchat and some Project Life cards, which I don't use very often and I wanted to get them done. And I'm using this piece of paper here, which I absolutely love, and some Dreamweaver paste. So I'm going to cut off the signature strip there and start working out which one of these various cards I'm going to use to layer my photograph. These colours go really well with this paper, and I also like the pencil elements because it is talking about what my son is doing at university. So I thought they go quite well. So here we go with trying to work out which sides of the papers I'm going to use and which words and everything else, and just trying to layer these up. So I quite like this pen that I've put down at the bottom, so I'm going to keep that, and then I'm just arranging the others. The white one says "Tell It Like It Is," and I quite like that title. Now I'm going to come in with my Shimmerz paints. I'm going to take two colours and layer these behind the pictures. So I'm just rearranging these a little bit more, just so that I work out exactly that I'm happy where I'm putting them before I put my ink down. So I'm coming in with this green one. I didn't think I had shaken that up enough, so I went off and shook that up a bit more. And then we have quite a bit of colour going on the page here. This colour is It's Meant to Be, and this is one of my absolute favourites to use, and just love it. And the second colour I'm going in with is an orange, which I haven't used before, and realised that when I was using it, it is a lot darker than I expected, which quite surprised me next to the green. But you know, once you go with it, you've got to go with it, don't you? So I put it on. It's not too bad in the overall effect, but when I put it down here, I thought a little bit of, oh my goodness me. So I'm just drying that off with my heat gun and just dabbing off any excess there before I come in with some textured paste. So that's all dry. I'm just giving it a smooth down, make sure it's dry. Did get a little bit of orange on my hands there. So I'm going to put this stencil down in a couple of different places, just so this is going to poke out from behind my photograph, so I know where they're going to be. And I'm going to put a little bit down the bottom, had to get a little bit more, and then I accidentally moved this stencil. But thankfully it's quite a big pattern, so I was able to lay it back down. I didn't want any of it to impede on the writing that's already on this page, so I've just wiped that off. And as you can see there, I had some water next to me to put the stencil straight in. If you don't do that, the texture paste can dry on your stencil, and it's terrible to try to get off, and you usually end up damaging your stencil. So we don't want that. So I'm just thinking again how I want these. I'm struggling with the pencil piece with all the different colours, the way I want it. If I stick it on, you're just going to get all those see all the rubber ends rather than the actual points to the pencils. Quite like this with the green pencil to the left and the green pencil at the bottom, but I don't like that excess. So I'm going to come in and just cut that last line off the bottom there. And get rid of that, which then means I need to corner the page. That corner rounder was too big, so I'm coming in with this one, and that actually is perfect size for it. And layering that down and thinking, yep, I think that's where I want these to go. Just wondering whether I want any of the pencil to stick out from behind the writing. Now I really like this pencil one, and I don't want to waste all of it. It's the last one I've got, so I'm coming in here with a bit of tape to stick it down exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to cut some of the paper off so that I can use just a little bit more of this on another page. And then stupidly I go in and I cover most of the sides, so I could have saved a bit more of this, but I do that all the time. I cut it in a weird shape just to save some of it, and then find that I end up covering even more. Just using a Distress Oxide Cracked Pistachio to edge the side of the paper here. And now I'm popping that little title up there. and working out where I want that to go, and just working out what sort of dimension I want. So I'm going to pop the picture up a little bit, and as you see there, cutting off some of those books that I might keep for a later project. And as you can tell, I could have cut an awful lot more off that, because I didn't need that end bit because it's going underneath the pencils. Yes, I don't know why I do this. Is a little bit of a sticking point I have. I want to save some of it, and I end up saving a little bit, but realising that I could have had a lot more. But we all have our limitations and things that we think about and forget about as well. So just go with it. I like this drop colour card here as well, and it has a little bit more colour to it. I'm trying to work out what I want. I wanted to bring a little bit of the grey sort of colour into it, and on the side here you've got the small grey right up in the top right hand corner, but I wanted the bit at the bottom, so I've cut those little ones off there, and again I'm rounding the edge there. In the end you can actually only see a tiny little bit of the grey one at the very bottom, but that was sort of the colour that I wanted to pull through a little bit more, so that's why I was messing about with that one and layering a little bit more down. I have not a lot of project life. I never actually did project life as such. I've always been a scrapbooker, but I have had some project life cards just because I like the colours in them, or I ended up with them from somebody else's stash. If I bought a kit of stuff online, sometimes there's a few bits and pieces of project life in them, but I probably have a small box of them that I've kind of said to myself I really need to use up. I don't look at them very often, and it just so happened these colours went really well with this piece of paper that I had here. So this is, as I said, it's sort of a uni story. My son's written down here, free day today, had a long lie-in, gonna start my group project tonight, but got put in a group, so don't know anyone and I'm nervous. And I just thought I will do a few more of these sorts of pages with the pictures that the kids take are just part of their face, and with little stories that speaks for itself then. This card with the bottles, I looked at the back of the card and there was a pen on it, and I decided I was going to save the pen. And then when I went in now to do the pink bottle, I cut the pen off. So that was another silly little error, as I would have used the pencil. I have this paper in my stash again. I bought two, one to do for my daughter and one to use for my son, because there's lovely writing around the side of this paper that says things like, adventure, say yes to new adventures, wake up and just be awesome, never lose sight of the fact that just being is fun. So I've got another sheet of this paper, but I've decided to do some stamping. You saw me there just test the stamp out because I've never used this stamp set. It has lots of what are they called? Sort of medical bottles and test tubes and things like that. My son is doing medicine at university, so I bought this thinking these were absolutely perfect. The wording I put at the top says it's all about the chemistry, and I also put a couple of stamps that say life is an experiment. The more you experiment, you make it better, and let's experiment together. So I wanted to use a little bit more writing in the page to kind of bring that element back into from the actual writing around the border of this piece of paper stock, to bringing it more into my page. So I've done a little bit, and I do come in with a little bit more, just sticking these bottles down to work out where everything else is going to go. I've popped two of the bottles up on foam pads, and the last one I've laid flat just to give some more dimension to the page. So now I'm just coming in with those other words. Going to pop this one down by the bottles, and then come in with another one that goes between the writing, so it kind of pulls the writing into the rest of the page. That's the one that says let's experiment together. And then I'm going to pop a few more little test tubes, bottles and things around the page. This one I'm just going underneath the cardstock, and I'm just thinking about what other stamps I might want to use, if there's anything else on here. There's a few stamps that have sort of love hearts and a little bit lovey-dovey, which weren't really the aim of this page. Got a bit of bling, because in everybody's life we need a little bit of bling. I found like an orange one and a nice green, and I'm also getting a little bit of thread to put on this picture just to give it a little bit more texture. So I'm going in again with the mint green and the sort of apricot-y orange colour. Don't like those, they turn out to be a little bit too dark for this page, so put those off to the side. I'm not going to use those. So now I'm just going to layer a little bit of this thread on the page, and I'm poking it underneath some of the Project Life cards, and I'm sticking it to the foam pads and the little bit of glue that's already here from the sellotape that I've used, or double-sided tape that I've used. I also popped that one up a little bit and stuck another piece of double-sided tape just to hold this thread down onto the page. And I'm going in with the orange, but I'm going to split the threads of the orange here just so it's not so thick and not so dark in colour. I think the orange is more like a cross-stitch thread, and so there's quite a few layers to this one. And I didn't want it, I wanted it exactly the same as the mint green. Now I'm popping these little mint diamantes down on the page. Playing around with this one, but then found that actually the reason why I couldn't stick it down is because there was no sticky on it, so I grabbed another one off the pack. Next to the writing, it's okay to shine, between the words okay and to, there are little spots on the card, and I thought actually I'll put a diamante on the spot. And now I'm just thinking a little bit more thread just underneath this title here is pretty much all this page is going to need to finish it off. Just pop another foam pad there, one to help the thread stay in place, and two just to give a little bit more hold to that title. And yeah, just tucking that in and making it so that I like it. And as always, the last thing to do is to pop my cat on the page. I am looking through the cats there thinking, oh, I'm running low and I'm off at a retreat next weekend, so I think this next week I will be sat one day cutting out a load more cats so that I've got them for my next projects. Put a little bit too much glue on that, so just wiping that off. And here we go, our page. I will of course take the tab once I finished off my son's face, but as I had said, I would try to protect his identity. So I hope you like the page. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.